of things that we need to cover with this. We basically just need to understand what culture is and some terminologies, and also be aware of our own cultures and our own judgments that we can have towards other cultures. Okay, so by the end of this session, we should be able to cover that. So culture is the total way of life shared by members of a society, and it includes many things. When we say total way of life, how we do each and everything in our life, whether it is about the foods that we cook, how we cook them, how we eat, how we raise children, how marriages are conducted, or different ceremonies are conducted. Everything. That's why we are saying it's a total way of life that is shared by particular members of a society. Okay, so culture is learned. Okay, our parents teach us some of the things. We learn by seeing, we learn by listening, and also by reading. Okay, so that is how culture is actually learned. So culture consists of the language, the customs, beliefs, ideas, values, artifacts, and norms. Some of these terms, we are going to discuss them in this session. Okay, so culture is not inherited. In this picture here, we are trying, or was trying to depict what comes into your browser when you type the word culture. In here, it's about the dress code. And these days we have organizations that are having what we term as Culture Day. So for Culture Day, people come dressed with their traditional attires. I don't know why they use the word traditional attires. Yeah, they come dressed in their cultural attires. I think that should be the right word. Okay, so if you have a diverse organization, then it will be a very good what? A very good day. But if you have an organization where almost everyone comes from the same tribe, it may not be an exciting day for that culture day. Okay, so culture is passed from one generation to another. It is learned. Okay, and then third is that it is dynamic. Culture keeps changing, and the agents of change of culture are the things that we talk about every day that cause change. Technology has caused the change. Globalization is causing change. Intermarriages creating change, and the acceptance. You see, previously the attitudes towards, let us say, intermarriages were not actually conducive, and were not favored, were not positive attitudes. But now, intermarriages are actually okay, or what we can term as interracial marriages. Okay, we have seen a number of South Sudanese marrying whites, and whites also getting married to South Sudanese, and it is okay. It's celebrated. When you look at the reaction, the reception by the people on social media, and you see, it is accepted. It's not something that is out of this world. Another term, which is civilization, and it should be distinguished from culture. For it is advancement of human social development and organization. The way we live has advanced. Transportation, food, these advancements in technology, advancement in medicine, treatment of diseases, that is all about civilization. Okay, it is advancement in social development and organization. That is civilization. So civilization is different from culture. So when you talk about civilization, we are talking about achievements in human race or humankind. okay, whether institutional or material. Okay, whereas for culture, we're looking at values, norms, beliefs, and practices. It is learned, culture is learned through socialization, whereas civilization is as a result of cultural development. The cultures will never be the same across different societies. But civilization, you have these changes are happening at a universal scale. Okay, everyone, you only have, for example, we cannot talk about people in this generation that are living in the Stone Age life. It is unheard of. But it's also not to say that all societies are actually at the same level in terms of social development and transformation. So some societies are more civilized than others. That's also a reality. So what are the elements of culture? We have many of them, starting with norms. Like I said earlier on, every society has what we term as established norms, that they have standards of behavior that every member of the society is supposed to adhere to. If someone does not follow societal norms, then they are bound to be punished. Okay, they are bound to be punished. So that punishment can actually vary. The importance of these norms is that you actually minimize extents to which you have societal conflicts. If people behave in ways they are expected to behave, then you will have societal harmony. So that's why we need to have these norms in place. Okay, if you have sudden violation of these norms, then you are going to cause sudden changes in the society. Okay, and this can create instability. I mean, this stability, okay, destabilizes the whole society. So sanctions are in place to punish those that go against societal norms. Okay, just like what we term as positive reinforcement and then negative reinforcement. So here we're talking about positive sanctions and negative sanctions. Okay, so positive sanctions, if the behavior is actually a positive one and it's not causing any conflict, it should be rewarded. So the individuals are either paid money or money prizes, medals, gratitude, or a pat on the back. And I usually mention this, and maybe I will pose this as a question to you. To me, I think one of the problems that we are facing, the societal problem that we are facing, is the lack of a meritocratic reward system. That you have people who are doing well in whatever roles that they are involved in, but our societies or our countrymen are not actually recognizing these people and rewarding them as they are supposed to be. So to me, that is a major problem that we are facing in our society. Do you believe that? What's your take?
It's true, really. It's what you have said is correct, really. There is no reward, nothing. So, people become like, they don't now value it because it's like nobody's appreciating what they're doing. Sure.
Yes, exactly. In some societies, yes, Mr. Edelman.
Yes. I think what the Repen said is very correct. When you look at right now our context itself, even the people in power. So when you look at yes, there are other things they can really do very well, But given the fact that they are not being appreciated, now they look at, even if I do good for my own people are not going to really see. They are not going to reward. So you have seen now there are a lot of changes in the government, changes. People comes and goes. People knows that even if they come, even if they do well, they will not be appreciated. It's better for them to really to loot and go. That's why it has really caused a lot for our society really to suffer. Thank you.
Very good point there. So at whatever angle or level that you look at it, whether it is politicians, whether it is teachers, like most of us here, whether it is nurses and midwives in the ward, whether it is clinic officers, you look at almost every category, you realize that we are not being rewarded enough. And as a result of that, one of the consequences is that you don't create what I can term as positive competition, or it's very difficult to create positive models. Okay, positive models, for example, or positive role models. For example, let us look at our field, midwifery and nursing. We could be having, for example, the nurse of the year, okay, and that is a national recognition. That is everyone around the country, within the country, is able to say, oh, you are talking about so and so. Whichever corner of the country you go to, and someone can be recognized that was the nurse of the year. Third is values. The third element of culture is value. Values are a collection of what is good, desirable, and proper. Okay, a society should have values, and we often say that. You see, even the way our funding of the hospitals or the health system or the education or other very important social services, it's because of the values that we hold. If we value certain sectors, then things are supposed to be moving. If we value, we have two things: public good and the individual good. Our value system as a society is usually focused on the individual good. What benefits me? And that's why someone will have a very nice house. Everything inside is very expensive, but they step out, the roads are poor, you don't have street light, you don't have those things, the road, the street lights, the hospital, those are public goods. So what do we value? Public good versus individual good. Group progression. We want to progress as a group, or we want to progress as individuals. Those are societies. Those are values that societies have. If societies value certain areas, they will always prioritize them. If they don't, they will never get prioritized. There is always this word that is often used. I checked, I think I saw it the other day. What is termed as unfunded priorities. The managers usually use this word, unfunded priorities, values. And the values will determine whether the money will go for buying drugs in the hospital or the money will go to organizing a trip to India. Values. So what is good?
Or buy V8s.
Why did you say that?
You say or buy V8s.
Yes, values. Those are values. Yes. Yes, so we move to the fourth one, which is language, and Mr. Ripet elaborated this very well, that culture. Actually, culture is expressed through language. Without language, you cannot express culture. And the challenge that we have is preservation of culture. You see, let us look at, for example, you will have a department of African studies in a university that is in the US, but you come to Africa, you don't have a department to look at African studies. You come to our universities, you go to that university of ours or any other university and check the Department of Languages, often called the Department of Linguistics. You will see that it is French, it is Chinese, it is Japanese, but there is no Nuer, there is no Dinka, there is no Bari, there is no, you get. That's the problem that we are facing. So the culture is being diluted because if you don't know your language, your culture is being diluted because it is language that communicates culture. Okay? And the last statement, which I felt very, very important for this slide, is that language does not only describe reality, it shapes what we perceive. That means that there is no way you can transplant another language into your language and own it to be your language. It can never be. Because the way we perceive certain words can never be translated into another word. The way we feel about certain words in our tribes is unique in such a way that there is no way you can get another tribe and superimpose it on another. So that means that language is very, very important. It reflects education. Actually, for me, I think that intelligence can be reflected a lot in language, not necessarily in English. This is what people mistake. You can be very, very intelligent in your whatever language, whether it is Bari, whether it is Kakwa, whether it is Dinka, whether it is Nuer, very intelligent and very fluent. But for us, we have this.
Just to interrupt you, just from this explanation, Mr. Bosco, this tells us that there is no language superior and there is no language inferior.
Exactly. So that means that richness in terms of communication in your language is actually very paramount, because a second language can never replace the first language. All right, thank you very much for that addition. So the next one is about nonverbal communication. This is also unique for different cultures. For example, one of the unique aspects is to do, for example, with how we greet. I think in African societies, most often the greeting there is a physical touch to it. Okay, physical gestures, physical touch. And then you have Western, theirs is more or less verbal. Okay, but there is that human connection, physical contact that is involved in most of our cultures. Okay, and in this example of where men holding their hands in Saudi Arabia is considered as a sign of respect and mutual relations, friendship, but in the US, it is looked at as something that is not usual or intimate. So cultures can be different. And then the symbols, these can be physical symbols, it can be words, it can be objects, or basically gestures. Okay, a spear, a pot, a cape, all these are symbols, and they carry a meaning. Okay, so cultural diversity, when you have very many other cultural groups within a society. So you say that society is culturally diverse. But you can have a society where you have predominant culture, because the people within this, most of the people within this society are alike. But within that predominant group of people, or that society where you have a predominant group of people, you also have smaller groups that have slightly different cultures. Okay, and that is what we term as a subculture. Okay, so it's similar to, yes,
Mr. Bosco.
yes, please.
Just a moment. So how do you describe our culture in South Sudan? Is it cultural diversity because of our different tribes that could really fit our context?
Okay, very good.
Yes, I think maybe before Bosco answer, because when you look at us, we are a bit diverse. We are a bit diverse when you look at their different language. There is different language, there are different culture. You will find Zulu, you will find Kakwa, Moro. You know, we are a bit diverse when you look at the language also, meaning that a bit, if you look at, we have cultural diversity, our context, compared to other countries where you may find only one culture, and it's generally only one. But for us, you may find that they are really different. They are different languages. So I think basically, if I'm to answer, I think we are a bit diverse.
Yes, exactly. We are indeed diverse as a country in terms of cultures. We have, I think they documented, I think it's 64 tribes, but you can pick any of those tribes, and you can analyze those tribes and still see that within a particular tribe, you can still have subgroups within. For example, I think for example, let us say the Kukus, who come from Kajokeji. When you look at them, you realize that even within the Kukus, we have distinct groups, and their Kuku is actually slightly different from the other people. So yes, as a country, we are very diverse. And this is manifested in the languages that we speak, but also other ways of life that we are exhibiting. Yes, Mr. Pet.
I think that's true based on the tribes we're having. And even within the same tribe, like you gave example of Kuku, even in Moro, you know, we have, I think, 9 sub chiefs within Moro with slight different cultures, you know. So we are culturally diverse community. Thank you.
That's good. What needs to be done about that cultural richness? Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, we have countries that have benefited from cultural uniqueness. For us as a country, how can we make use of this cultural diversity? That's a question that we basically have.
I think to answer this question, Mr. Bosco, I think it is the strength for me. You know, this is the strength. If we can really utilize it well, it gives us, with all those differences, is still, you know, there are common things that brings us together. So that means for me is the strength.
Exactly. It's a strength. It's a strength. And if we really, for example, I think the group that has tried to privilege that with deliberate effort in this country, I think the Pojulus have done some good work in that regard. Now, what is basically perhaps about to happen, I'm using this because of their cultural festival that they usually have. how can that Pojulu Culture Festival be translated into a commodity, a transformative commodity? Because other people have done it. They have transformed those festivals into commodities. I'm using the word commodities. I don't know whether that is the right one, but they have been monetized such that they are huge events that attract huge companies, that attract foreigners, that attract tourists, and that also bring about societal transformation and opportunities. That's the big question, that if these people get the right trick or the right people who can transform this, it can be something very big. Because at the moment, as far as I know, it is the biggest. Maybe someone knows another big event that showcases culture in South Sudan.
No, I think it's the biggest because it even draws the government officials in it. So,
Yes.
so I think so far it's the biggest.
Yes.
Although they are not the majority tribe, but really they have shown that one. You can imagine. So it's a success story.
Exactly. I believe I want to believe that people take in interest in documenting how they are actually doing it, because it appears that every year it is bigger than the previous year.
Yeah.
So that is a very big success story that needs to be documented, that we need to learn from it, and also that next level, which I think the last edition, it had crossed borders. It crossed the borders. Now, how do we leverage it and make sure that it can be very transformative? That's the question. It's very tough, but I believe they will get a way around it. So let us look at these few terms and then we conclude. The first term is what we call cultural universals. This is to mean that, you see, although cultures are different, there are some things that are almost the same across all cultures. There are common practices and beliefs across all cultures, okay? And they emanate from the fact that humans will always look for ways in which to meet their essential needs. So whether it is ways of marriage, ways of cooking, participation in sports, all the things are there in different cultures, but how they are practiced may actually vary. So the statement here is that universality is not the same as uniformity. That if all people do things in a particular way, it doesn't mean that that particular way will always be the same. Okay, it's not going to be the same. The processes are not the same. So it's not uniformity. Ethnocentrism, what we talked about last time in terms of cultural supremacy is related to this ethnocentrism, that there is that bias that individuals will always have about their own culture and thinking that it is more superior compared to the cultures of other people. And this is not good because it results into misjudgment or devaluation of other people's cultures. And you don't want that. If you're going to be culturally competent, you need to have lenses to look at other cultures differently, but also to have lenses to look at your own perceptions or attitudes towards people's cultures. Okay, so that is about ethnocentrism. So it's related to cultural supremacy, the tendency to see your culture as being superior to other people's cultures. So what you basically need is cultural relativism, which is that when you're looking at people's cultures, you don't need to judge their cultures based on your own culture. Look at their culture using the perspective of the people who are actually practicing that culture. it makes more sense, and it doesn't make you judge people. If you understand why certain cultures are the way they are from the people who are practicing it, it makes more sense compared to you judging their culture using your own perspectives. Okay, so the emphasis is on, can you understand the interpretation of the things that you are seeing other than just judging people? That's very important. So it reduces cultural bias and it promotes empathy. So we shall end there for today. This discussion, my closing remark, that this discussion, in most cases, they seem disconnected from our professional fields. But the reality is they are very, very, very connected. Okay? Culture and the nature of our societies depicts who we are and how we are doing things. And this is reflected in education and in health. And of course, for this module, we are interested in the lenses of health, particularly. So in our subsequent discussions, we shall look at how culture, for example, influences health decisions, health-seeking behavior, and many other aspects. Do we have anyone with any question?
There's no question. You have really concluded well. Well, first of all, thanks so much for the presentation, and it has been really good and well elaborate. So we do appreciate. Of course, we look forward for more related. Of course, we need to connect. We need to apply. Of course, this is something which we will learn and apply immediately. So for me, it's so interesting model. I think it's one of the best so far model. Otherwise, thanks so much for the time. I know it's not easy to sacrifice some time, and you are busy, we understand, but really we do appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Goodbye, everyone.